Welcome to Madden 21 NEML, first broadcast by Trill, as we're going to go over a couple preseason predictions on the teams that we will see in front of us. So the first team we're going to start off with is the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints, I believe, is a very strong team and can have a good chance of making the playoffs this year with their new owner, as long as they can stay focused and keep the road to the playoffs as a first priority. The next team we have is the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have a very strong yet old offense, but a very, very strong defense that's very young. I believe if they do what the Seattle Seahawks do best, let Russell Wilson control the game and the defense win the game, they'll be just fine going forward this year. Very strong chance of making the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers is one of the most well-run organizations that we have in this league, and I believe that they will do the same going forward for the next 3 to 4 years and make the playoffs this year with a very strong young team. The Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, I believe, is one of the teams that can be a sleeper team or just be an underwhelming team. I think the Texans have the potential to make the playoffs, but they also have the potential to miss the playoffs. It's going to be up to the coaching staff to keep the guys in line and keep the guys going forward to make it a playoff run. The Tennessee Titans have a very strong chance of repeating what they did last year at the minimum, as they've added Stephon Diggs, who's a great asset to the passing game to also complement Derrick Henry. I think the Titans, will make the playoffs this year. The Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings, I do not believe will make the playoffs this year, as I don't believe the owner is committed to winning as much as he likes us to believe he is. The Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears will be another team that will be great full of talent, great talent, but will underwhelm when it comes to coaching and the general manager pushing forward to make sure that the Bears can make a great push into the playoffs, as they haven't been properly pushed or displayed the proper. They haven't displayed the proper pride as the Chicago Bears used to display to make it to the playoffs. The Cincinnati Bengals are a very great team, a very young team. I believe this team is one of the younger teams with a lot of great talent. As we can see here, Joe Burrow is an X factor with all his abilities, and he has great abilities, I believe. He even has escape artists, and I don't think he's that fast, but he'll be escaping the pocket with 83 speed, and I think that's going to really help Joe Burrow get out the pocket and be able to give his fast guys a chance to really make some plays deep downfield in coverage. The Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills will not go winless this year, as I believe they've made some tremendous changes this offseason to get their team back into position to be able to win. I do believe this is a rebuild, so I do think that they're going to have a while before they can make it back to the playoffs. But they did add a couple young great pieces to their team, as we have the number 1 overall pick, Stephen Blake, who was a hidden development, so I'm hoping that's a superstar or a superstar X factor, but we will see how the season develops for him. Next, we have the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are one of the teams that can go up or down. I believe over time they will find their strength with this, which I believe is passing, but can Drew Lock get the job done? He is now a superstar, and his abilities are sleight of hand and conductor. So we will see how Drew Lock leads this team into the playoffs or not lead this team into the playoffs. I think it's all in his hands. The Cleveland Browns are one of the better teams in this league. Nick Chubb will be the guy who leads them into the playoffs, and I believe they will finish at top of their division this year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now that Tom Brady's gone, Will we have Jordan Love take this team to the Super Bowl and get them over the hump? They've added some great players. They've added Von Miller and Cameron Jordan, who I think that defensive line can be one of the best in the league. And so we're going to see how things turn out for them. My advice to you guys, run and pass fast. The Arizona Cardinals will be a middle of the pack team. I do not believe they will make the playoffs. I do believe that DeAndre Hopkins is a very, very great player, but he's getting up there in age and will start declining very soon. They do have a very young team, but with no experience in the playoffs and no experience winning the division in the last 3 seasons, I do believe it's going to be hard for the Arizona Cardinals to pull off a victory over anybody in their division this year. The Los Angeles Chargers are another team that could be a sleeper team and make it to the playoffs, or a team that could miss the playoffs. They have a very well-ran team as far as the stats and the players that they have, as you see in front of you. It's going to be up to the coaching staff to do their part to make sure that they can make the push and get the players in the right positions to make it to the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs are a very, very strong team. They're led by Patrick Mahomes. I do believe that they will turn the organization around, as they've just been acquired by a new owner named Dave. Dave, I think, will do a strong job of pushing this team forward to make sure that they can get into the playoffs this year. The Indianapolis Colts are one of the weaker defensive teams, but a very strong offensive team, as their offensive line is the anchor of that team. As long as they can run first, pass second, and rely on the offense to win the game, I think the Colts can have a great chance of making to the playoffs. The Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are one of the great teams that has potential to win a Super Bowl with the guys that they have on the team right now. It's going to be up to the owner, Pat, to push them guys forward to get over that hump. They are going to be led by Jameis Winston, who I believe was just recently acquired. And so we're going to see if Jameis can get a Cowboys team to the playoffs or to a Super Bowl. Now here we have the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins may look very, very great to you, and they are a great team. Last year they finished as the runner-up for the Super Bowl champions. They came in as a 6th seed and made it all the way to the Super Bowl. They did lose a very hard-fought game. But I do believe this year they'll come in at a 2 or 3 season to the playoff, and they'll be more on alert to what they can do and the firepower that they have, as they have acquired Jair Alexander, who is a very great cornerback. So we'll see how it turns out for them, but I believe the Dolphins are going to have another repeat of the season they had last year, which is a very great season. The Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have acquired a few small pieces, nothing too big. I do believe the Eagles will struggle again this year, as they have Josh Allen at the helm, who is a very mediocre quarterback. It's going to be all up to Miles Sanders if he can carry the team on his back, but I've never seen a running back take a team to the Super Bowl. It's going to be up to the coaching staff to get Josh Allen in the right positions to be able to make the team better around him. The Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons have potential to miss the playoffs this year and next year, as they have a very old roster and they don't have a lot of young, good talent on offense. The San Francisco 49ers, on the other hand, are an excellent team. They're ran by Face, who is a decent owner. I believe he could do a lot better with the talent that he does have. So we'll see if this year he made a couple coaching adjustments and can get this 49 teams into the playoffs or even to the Super Bowl. The New York Giants, one of my sleeper teams last year, who I believe were going to be great, and they ended up making it to a good playoff run. This year, I believe they have the same potential, as they still have Saquon Barkley and they've added Chandler Jones on the defense end. So they have 2 now stars on both sides of the balls. Let's see what they can do. The Jacksonville Jaguars. They're a newly acquired team by CG. I think he will do a great job getting the best out of Leonard Fournette, as he will make him run till his legs fall off. So I look forward to seeing the Jacksonville Jaguars make a strong playoff push this year. The New York Jets. New York Jets, I do not think they have what it takes to make the playoffs, but they're a very young team. And so over the next couple of years, we will see if they can form to be what I think they can be, which is a great defensive team with strong offensive firepower. We have the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, I think, are going to be the top team in their division this year, as they've added great pieces to their team, and I do believe that they're going to have a great season. I think they'll be one of the top playoff teams again this year, as they were last year. The Green Bay Packers. Now, there's not a lot to say about the Green Bay Packers that most people haven't already known about them. The Green Bay Packers are a very great organization, but I think right now, for the next 3 years, they're going to be in a rebuild mode, and that's not often you hear the Green Bay Packers rebuilding. But I think with the new owner taking over, they're going to rebuild and try to revamp what they like to do in Green Bay. No playoff in their future. Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are led by a second year quarterback now who I think has everything under control, and he finally has the experience on his belt that he needs. I think the Carolina Panthers will do another great job this year at making a playoff push. The New England Patriots. The New England Patriots now, I can't say where they're going to go, but I know where they've been. And they've been in the playoffs the last 2 years, so it's safe to say that they'll make the playoffs again, as their coaching is very great on this team. The problem with the New England Patriots is they're a very, very old team, so they're going to have to at some point start reshaping their roster, or they're going to get slow and old and not be able to keep up with the other great teams that are rebuilding. The Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders has some of the same issues that New England has. They have an older roster, and they have to kind of make sure that they're switching things around and keep that middle tier of youth into the building, so that way they can keep developing and growing as a team. I do believe the Raiders will make a strong push for the playoffs again, and hopefully a Super Bowl run. Here we have the Super Bowl champs, the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are a very strong defensive team and a very young team. Right now, I think they're dealing with a Darius Guy suspension due to PED, so he will be out the first 2 games of the season. We will see how things turn out for them without their star running back, but I do believe that the Los Angeles Rams will start off a little slow this year, but finish with a great record. The Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are a very great team, as they're led by Lamar Jackson and Marty as the coach. I think the issue with the Ravens are going to be staying consistent in the playoffs and not letting the moment outplay them. The Ravens have a very strong chance of making a Super Bowl this year, as long as they can stay not stage fright and get in there and play in the Super Bowl, playing the playoffs as if they've been there before. Not act like the wild card game is the Super Bowl. Just one game at a time, Ravens, and you'll do okay. We have the Washington football team. Last but not least, the Washington football teams are a very slow team to develop, as the defense is very great, but the offense is lackluster. They will need a lot of work in to get the offense back up to par with the front seven of the defense. I do believe that the Washington football team will not make the playoffs this year, due to the fact that of quarterback play, when they have Dwayne Haskins, who has been mediocre to say the least throughout the last couple of years.